Natalie, the James Beard nomination. I cried when I heard. Uncle Vincent wrapped me in a bear hug the moment I walked through my parents' door for Thanksgiving dinner. His food critic enthusiasm impossible to contain. 6 locations now, right? The expansion into Chicago was brilliant. The Tribune review called it transformative regional cuisine. I've been telling everyone my niece is the next great American restaurateur. My father froze with turkey on his fork. My mother blinked rapidly, her smile fixed in the particular way it got when she didn't understand something, but didn't want to admit it. My brother Marcus laughed from across the table with the dismissive certainty he'd perfected over 33 years of being the family's acknowledged success. Natalie doesn't own restaurants, he said. She's a waitress at some diner. Has been for years. Uncle Vincent looked at me, confusion replacing his excitement. I calmly poured myself more wine as the truth began to unfold. Let me tell you about the family who never asked questions and the empire they never knew existed. I started working at Rosie's Diner when I was 16. Not because I needed the money, though I did, but because I loved food. The sizzle of butter in a hot pan, the transformation of simple ingredients into something that nourished people, the particular magic of feeding someone exactly what they needed. My parents saw waitressing as a phase, something I'd grow out of once I got serious about my future. I saw it as education. While my brother Marcus went to business school and became a management consultant, the career path my parents considered properly ambitious, I stayed in kitchens. Rosie's Diner became culinary school tuition. Culinary school became line cook positions at increasingly respected restaurants. Line cook became sous chef, became executive chef at a farm-to-table restaurant in Vermont that caught the attention of food writers. By 28, I'd saved enough to open my own place. Thornwood Kitchen started as a 30-seat restaurant in Burlington, focused on the regional New England cuisine I'd been developing for years. Local ingredients, traditional techniques, contemporary presentation. The first review called it a revelation. The second called it essential dining. By year 3, we had a James Beard nomination and investors asking about expansion. I never told my parents. Not deliberately at first. I'd tried to share my culinary journey early on, but their responses had been consistently dismissive. That's nice, dear, but when are you going to get a real job? Your brother just made partner. Isn't that wonderful? Cooking is a fine hobby, but you can't build a life on it. Eventually, I stopped trying to change their minds. I focused on building instead. Thornwood Kitchen became 2 locations, then 3, then 6 across New England and the Midwest. The James Beard nomination became 2 nominations. Food and wine featured me. The Chicago Tribune's review of our newest location had called it transformative. My parents knew none of this because they'd never asked. They still thought I worked at some diner. Uncle Vincent was different. My mother's brother had been a food critic for the Boston Globe for 20 years before retiring. He understood the restaurant industry, followed culinary news, and had apparently been tracking my career from a distance. We hadn't seen each other in 5 years. He'd been living in Portugal, writing a memoir about his decades reviewing restaurants. He'd just returned to the States and had been invited to Thanksgiving. He'd assumed the family knew what he knew. He'd assumed wrong. I'm confused, Uncle Vincent said, looking between me and my brother. Natalie, you are the Natalie Thornwood who owns Thornwood Kitchen, aren't you? The chef who was just nominated for Best Chef Northeast. Thornwood is Mom's maiden name, Marcus said dismissively. Anyone could use it. There's no way Natalie. Yes, I interrupted. That's me. The dining room went silent. 6 restaurants. James Beard nominated. The one you read about. My mother set down her wine glass. What are you talking about? I own Thornwood Kitchen. 6 locations, Burlington, Portland, Boston, Providence, Hartford, and Chicago. We were nominated for a James Beard Award last year, and we're on the short list again this year. That's impossible, my father said. You work at a diner. I worked at a diner. When I was 16. That was 17 years ago. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Uncle Vincent looked genuinely distressed. You didn't know? I thought, when I saw the nomination, I assumed. How could you not know? Because they never asked, I said simply. And I stopped trying to tell them. Natalie, if this is some kind of joke, my brother began. It's not a joke, Marcus. You can Google it right now. Thornwood Kitchen James Beard nomination. Or read Uncle Vincent's memoir when it comes out. I assume I'm mentioned. 3 chapters, Vincent confirmed quietly. I profiled you as one of the most important emerging voices in American regional cuisine. My mother's face had gone pale. Why didn't you tell us? I told you I was going to culinary school. You said it was a waste of money. I told you I'd become a sous chef. You asked when I was going to get a real job. I told you I was opening my own restaurant. You said, "That's nice, dear," and changed the subject to Marcus's promotion. The memories were clear, even if they hadn't been to my family. After a while, I realized you didn't want to know. You decided who I was, the unsuccessful daughter, the one who never amounted to anything, and nothing I said could change that. So I stopped saying anything. Marcus pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. His expression shifted as he scrolled through results. The Chicago Tribune called it a culinary destination worth the trip. Food and Wine named you one of the top new chefs. In 2019, yes. You've been doing this for years? The first restaurant opened 8 years ago. We've been expanding ever since. But you never said. I said. You didn't listen. The Thanksgiving meal continued in fragments. Uncle Vincent attempted to bridge the awkwardness, sharing stories from his research into my career. The sourcing relationships I'd built with local farms, the training program that had helped launch a dozen young chefs, the community kitchen we operated that provided free meals to food-insecure families. She feeds 300 people a week through the community program, he told my stunned parents. No charge. Just good food for people who need it. My mother started crying quietly. My father stared at his plate. Marcus kept scrolling through his phone, reading article after article about the sister he'd dismissed as a failure. After dinner, my mother found me in the kitchen. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I had no idea. You had every opportunity to have an idea. You chose not to take them. We were worried about you. Cooking seemed so uncertain. We wanted stability for you. You wanted me to be Marcus. And when I wasn't, you stopped seeing me at all. That's not true. Mom, you've told people I'm a waitress for 8 years. 8 years while I built a restaurant empire, earned industry recognition, and became someone my colleagues respect. I kept my voice steady. You didn't just miss my success. You actively constructed a failure narrative because it was easier than updating your understanding of who I am." She had no response. My father approached later, as I was preparing to leave. "Your Uncle Vincent showed me the reviews, the awards, the scope of what you've built. And I'm proud of you. I wish I'd known. You could have known. All you had to do was ask. All you had to do was listen when I tried to tell you. I understand you're angry. I'm not angry. I was angry years ago. Now I'm just clear. Clear about who you chose to see and who you refused to acknowledge. Can we start over? Can you tell us about it now?" I considered his request. The genuine confusion in his eyes, the dawning recognition that he'd missed something important. "You can come to the Boston location. Eat at my restaurant. See what I've built." I pulled on my coat. "But I'm not going to explain myself anymore. I spent years trying to be seen. Now you'll have to do the work." They came to the Boston Thornwood kitchen 6 weeks later. I didn't cook for them personally. I wanted them to experience what every guest experienced, not a special performance for family. They were seated like any other diners, served the same tasting menu, treated with the same warm professionalism we extended to everyone. Afterward, they sat in my office, looking at the awards on the walls, the photos with renowned chefs, the framed reviews that documented a career they'd never known existed. "This is extraordinary," my mother said softly. "It's work. Years of it. Done without your support, but not without love. We should have supported you." "Yes, but you didn't. And I built this anyway." I met her eyes. "That's the thing, Mom. I didn't need your support to succeed. I just needed you to stop making me feel like a failure when I wasn't one." The relationship has improved slowly. Not through dramatic reconciliation. I don't believe in dramatic reconciliations, but through small steps. My parents visit the restaurants occasionally. They've read the interviews, the profiles, the cookbook I published last year. They're trying to see me now. It's late, but it's something. Marcus and I rarely speak. His dismissal at Thanksgiving revealed something about his character I'd always sensed but never confronted directly. Some relationships aren't worth rebuilding. They're worth releasing. Uncle Vincent's memoir came out 6 months after that Thanksgiving. 3 chapters about my career, as promised. He'd interviewed my staff, my investors, chefs who'd trained under me. He'd constructed a portrait of someone I barely recognized, ambitious, innovative, community-minded. Someone my parents had never known existed. I sent them copies. I don't know if they read them. Natalie doesn't own restaurants. She's a waitress. My brother said those words with absolute certainty at Thanksgiving dinner, convinced he understood my life when he'd never bothered to examine it. Uncle Vincent's confusion exposed what 15 years of family dinners had hidden. They'd constructed a version of me that matched their expectations rather than my reality. The waitress they imagined was easier to categorize, less threatening than a daughter who'd exceeded their other child's achievements in ways they'd never predicted. I'm not bitter anymore. The restaurants thrive. The 7th location opens next spring. The James Beard Award sits on my office shelf. We won last year, finally. My parents attended the ceremony. They cried when my name was announced. I accepted their tears the same way I'd accepted their dismissal, as information about who they are, not who I am. Some families see each other clearly. Some construct versions that serve their narratives. Mine did the latter for years, until Uncle Vincent accidentally revealed the truth they'd chosen not to know. I didn't need their recognition to succeed, but watching their faces change as they realized what they'd missed, that was more satisfying than any award.